Hi, I'm Cherie, a professional indemnity assistant underwriter here in Sydney. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the cultural accessibility and the professional indemnity gap, rethinking risk engagement in Australia's migrant-led businesses. Australia's professional services sector is being reshaped by migrant entrepreneurs. The 2017 CGU Migrant Small Business Report shows that migrants own around one-third of all Australian businesses, which is around 620,000 enterprises, but as you could imagine, this figure has probably gone up by now, and consistently excel in job creation, innovation, and growth. As financial lines insurance practitioners, we have an opportunity to collaborate on delivering professional indemnity solutions that are culturally attuned and responsive to this evolving client landscape. Research reveals significant untapped potential within Australia's migrant-led professional services sector. Gaps that we can consider include operational complexity. So various studies have found that Chinese entrepreneurs often operate on small-scale, relationship-driven practices in areas like education consulting, tax advice and business coaching, and standard underwriting questionnaires may not adequately capture these operational nuances, such as referral networks within language communities, family structures, or even community-based reputational dynamics. In terms of communication barriers, we know that complexity, lack of trust, and perceived lack of value are often primary deterrents of business insurance uptake. And for migrant professionals, these barriers compound with language differences and unfamiliarity with Australian legal frameworks. And also cost pressure. So APRA data from 2023 shows that PI premiums have risen significantly over 40% since 2015 for accountants and consultants. And these tight margins mean that many small practices defer cover or underinsure, creating concentration risk for both clients and the insurer. I'll touch on 3 approaches that can transform accessibility challenges into market opportunities. We can consider tailoring communications for migrant professionals by arming brokers with succinct multilingual impact briefs or little bite-sized summaries that translate complex regulatory updates into clear occupation-specific guidance. We could complement these briefs with simple flowcharts illustrating common claim journeys. For example, on the slide here, we can see an occupation example tailored to a migration agent who operates in Eastwood, New South Wales, which is an area known for high-density Chinese and Korean migrants and businesses. We could present these visuals side by side with relevant policy wording to reinforce understanding, reduce misinterpretation, and drive broker-client engagement. We can also move beyond basic demographic questions to develop culturally informed risk profiling. Key enhancement areas could include local qualification verification, experience depth assessment, so we can incorporate questions about Australian market experience, particularly for business directors where, for example, a minimum 5-year local track record could provide crucial context about regulatory familiarity and market understanding. And also consider cultural communication patterns. So questions such as, what proportion of your client engagements are initiated through informal or community-based referral channels, for example, WeChat groups, or ethnic community networks or WhatsApp, rather than formal advertising or professional directories. We can also follow up with underwriting probes around documentation standards, language of engagement contracts, or use of disclaimers in bilingual environments. For example, where applicable, do you document client instructions and service agreements in both English and the language preferred by your client? This could help identify potential miscommunication risks in migrant-led practices. Here I've got an example of an implementation pathway that we could consider. So partnering with 3 to 5 brokers in regions with high migrant densities, for example, Sydney Southwest, to pilot enhanced assessment tools with around, say, 50 migrant-led professional practices, and then measuring correlation between cultural intelligence data and policy uptake, claims incidents, loss ratios, and customer satisfaction, while providing underwriter training in cultural competency. We can consider developing modular training programs to equip brokers and underwriters with deeper cultural insights into professional liability. For example, you might want to explore how different cultures prioritize sustaining professional relationships, maybe sometimes at the expense of prompt dispute resolution, or how the psychological notion of shared or collective responsibility frameworks in certain cultures might inform liability perceptions and reporting practices. To conclude, professional indemnity insurance in Australia's multicultural economy presents a clear opportunity to enhance our industry's reach and relevance. So rather than viewing cultural diversity as a challenge, we can embrace it as a strategic advantage. And finally, I'm proud to work in an industry where both our products and client base are evolving, which creates constant opportunities to contribute to meaningful change in the professional indemnity space. And here are some articles I read through before creating this presentation.